In studio now, Dave Harrison. Great to see you, Dave.
Nice to see you, Gary.
So the natives are restless.
They are. If you've been keeping up on the news, both in Iowa and Illinois, we'll start with Iowa first. There was a wolf that got hit on Route 80, I think out by Walcott, if I remember right, just a couple weeks ago. And I haven't heard any results of the DNA testing, but I suspect it probably came out of either Minnesota or Wisconsin. We had one in the county on the Illinois side. Oh gosh, that's been 4 or 5 years ago. They got caught in a coyote trap, and my buddy, who was the game warden at the time, and the trapper had to get the thing out of the trap, and they had a fiberglass catch pole with a wire in it to hold it steady so they could get to the trap. It bit the pole in two, and it was a young wolf. It was probably a year and a half old, male. And then I suspect this was probably a male, too, who was just wandering around looking for a territory to take over. Walcott's kind of an unusual place for it, but sometimes they'll find a stream corridor. They'll come down the major rivers, and then they kind of branch out into the little tributaries. And everything that's been in Whiteside County as far as large predators has come down those corridors. So... And it's going to happen. They're not breeding populations. They're just transient animals that are moving through.
And they're pretty good size.
Yeah. A mature timber wolf, it might get 85 pounds. There was one up a number of years ago that Wisconsin DNR had actually collared and was able to follow it, and it bounced back between Wisconsin and Illinois for like a year and a half. And I think it finally got hit by a car on Route 20. But they had a map of it, and it was just zigzagging back and forth over the state line. The other thing, though, that's occurred in Illinois, had a buddy of mine send me a trail cam picture from up by Rockford of a bull elk. And I said, well, did it come off a game farm? And he says he didn't think so. And then the next week, one got hit down by Springfield on 55, and they linked that one back to a herd up in Wisconsin. And I talked to some folks up in Wisconsin. They said they're as far south now as Black River Falls, which is kind of central Wisconsin. So as far as we know, there's been 3 of them. There was one up in Rockford that I don't know whatever happened to it. I haven't heard any accidents or anything. The one that got killed down in Springfield. Then another one ended up in Missouri. So those bulls are, they're going all over. And once again, they're young bulls looking for their own territories.
And I would hate to run into one of them.
No, you don't want to hit one of those with a car. It's funny, up in Canada, they talk to you about the moose and the elk both, and how dangerous it is, especially in the fall when they're it's the rut and they're breeding. And you hit one of those things, it's going to be bad. A deer's bad enough, but
yes.
600 or 700 pound elk,
yeah,
not good.
The hills are alive with the sound of music.
Yes, if you're a birder, this is the time when you should be in hog heaven. Every bird that's around here has flown from the south up north. And if you listen in the mornings and in the evenings, you'll hear all different types of bird sounds. You can stand out and probably within 15 minutes hear a couple dozen different birds. So if you're a birder, this is excellent time. If you want to get into birding, this is excellent time. And there's some really good apps now you can get for your phone that will make the sound, and you can even attract the birds by doing that. So, or just get a bird feeder and hang out back there for a while. It's
My nephew has that app, and he would bring in some owls.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
Well, when I was doing songbird surveys a number of years ago, what we would do, now this is dating me, but cassette tapes, now for those of you who don't know what cassette tapes are, this is before apps on the phone, we would put speakers outside the vehicle and play owl calls, and the birds would answer them.
Yeah.
Both the songbirds and the owls. And that was one way we did the survey, just by listening to the sounds.
And owls, they can be pretty good size.
Oh, yeah. The great horned owl. The thing is, the great horned owls, any of the owls, they look really big, but they don't weigh much. But the great horned owls, it's got a huge wingspan, and it'll take a wild turkey on it and actually prey on them. So if that tells you something. But they're mostly feathers, and their bones are hollow, and they don't have a huge muscle structure. And the weird thing about owls is they don't have, like most migratory birds have breast muscles that are huge just from flying. Owls don't. They don't like to flap their wings. If they can jump off a branch and glide, they prefer to do that. So, but yeah, it's time. If you're a birder, this is an excellent time to be out there listening and watching.
Visiting with Dave Harrison. Dave, we're not going to get through all of these
Oh, I know we
things.
aren't. Absolutely, we won't.
It's a great time to check CRP for unwanted tree growth.
Yeah, a lot of the growth hasn't started in the CRP fields, and it's not very tall, so the little trees really stand out. So it's a good time either to cut them, mow them, do something before April 15th. The problem you got right now, though, is the sap is starting to flow up, and it's tough if you're going to put some chemical control on it to kill the roots. So probably the best you're going to be able to do right now is get them cut off, get the field where it should be, and don't get in trouble with USDA or FSA or any of those folks. So, but it's a great time to scout those fields and make sure that if there is a problem, it'll really show up right now. You can still have time to correct it.
Public enemy number one.
Yes. Well, this is my weed series, and I probably have talked about this one a number of times, but garlic mustard. Garlic mustard is green and growing right now. It's an amazing plant. It'll come up very, very early and stays green. If you're going to control it, do it sometime within the next 2 weeks before the wildflowers and the little trees start budding out. And you should be able to control it on a nice warm day like this afternoon when it's going to be close to 70. Excellent time to get out and spray it and or pull it. If you pull it, make sure you get all the roots out. If you're spraying it, just check and make sure the wildflowers haven't come out yet, because whatever you use on that stuff will kill those wildflowers too.
So now when you're trying to get rid of this garlic mustard, should you wear gloves or long sleeves? Or
Right now the poison ivy isn't out. I would still probably wear long sleeves though, just for the ticks. The ticks are starting to get active. So as a side light, that is, be forewarned. Ticks are out there. And like I've said in the past, permethrin sprayed on your clothing is a really good deterrent. Actually, it'll kill them. But don't get it on your skin. Don't get it on a cat. It's very dangerous to cats. So feline species, keep that stuff away from them.
You have such great information. It's amazing.
I try.
So burning weather, but we're dealing with wind and humidity.
Yeah, that was the one thing I thought about as I came over. And I knew this was going to be a topic. But yeah, today, I don't even know if I'd burn today. We were going to do a tiny little burn last night, and we got out there and the wind was just howling, so we delayed it. And one of the things you have to do if you're going to start doing a lot of burning is learn to say no or walk away. That's the safest thing you can do. Just let the winds die down. The problem is that the humidity, as those winds get going, the humidity drops. And that's really an explosive, combination of factors you don't want to deal with.
What are the benefits of burning?
Well, for native grass and flowers, a couple things. It relieves or takes the duff off the surface. It releases fertilizers, and for some of the prairie species, it actually makes the seed coats crack, and they'll germinate easier. For cool season plants, you're basically just cleaning the surface off. Other than that, if you burn it at the right time, you can actually it can be very detrimental to the grass. So if the growing point's up and you're burning, you're probably going to do more harm than good.
Tree and fish sale.
Yeah, you can check with the SWCD office in Morrison. Tricia has, I know, some information out. I don't know when the deadlines are, so before you put an order in, you might want to call her. And you can check online, too, because she usually puts that stuff online, the applications for sales.
We might be able to get through all of these. You're moving along pretty well there, mister.
Hey, one thing I did want to add.
Yeah.
When I came in this morning, I glanced at the cornfield next door, and there was about 8 turkeys in a group out there.
Okay.
I had seen them out there before, and I thought, I'm just going to take a quick peek. And I looked over, and there was a gobbler, and looked like a couple jakes and a few hens out there in a big group. So,
how about that?
Yeah.
We get a lot of wildlife, and every once in a while a skunk will walk by. No. We don't want to see those.
No.
But boy, I have seen a lot of dead skunks.
Well, they're moving right now,
Yeah.
and it's breeding season for them, and they're hungry. And it's weird this winter. I trap, and I was catching skunks through the whole winter. And that's unusual. Normally that doesn't happen. So there's normally a period where they kind of go into semi-dormancy, where they just den up, and it's usually cold and snowy. But this year, they were active the whole winter, except for that one big snowfall. That was the only time I didn't see them.
So you trap skunks?
Not intentionally.
Not intentionally. Okay, I was going to say.
But there are guys that do, and the pelts are worth a little bit of money, but what they really want is the actual quill. It's the scent. They'll extract that and sell that.
Amazing.
But no, I don't do that. I don't like messing with them.
Yeah, I wouldn't mess with them either.
No.
Tube them if you got them.
Yeah, it's an excellent time right now if you got trees to put Tubex tubes or tree tubes on them. They're translucent tubes that act like little greenhouses and stimulate the growth, and they also protect the trees from rabbits and deer. So if you got them, put them on as soon as you can before the trees bud out.
Where would you be able to get these?
The SWCD office, I know, sells them in Morrison. You can check with the USDA here in Iowa, and they can probably tell you. And if you go online, there's hundreds of vendors. So
Okay. Gully check.
yeah, for our farmer friends out there, before you go into your fields, if you got time, take a ride around with either your truck or your four-wheeler before you get out there with the tractor and planter. Because a lot of times these gullies will show up, especially on the field edges, and you won't even realize it until you drop a wheel or an axle in them. So good idea. Take a little time. And I know everybody's busy right now, but just from safety standpoints and from an investment on this equipment, you don't want to screw up a $500,000 combine or a tractor. So take 15 minutes, buzz around the field, check the edges, and especially if there's a creek and you got a little bit of a slope to it, that's where most of those gullies will start.
And I would imagine they're starting to get ready to get out into the
Oh yeah,
fields
there's guys
if
in
they've
the
not
field
already
already.
been
Yeah,
in.
there's guys out there with anhydrous already. There's been some tillage done, and we're starting to get into a little bit of a wet period now, which is good because we're really low on rain. But it looks like we're starting to get rain about once a week.
Yeah, we got rain in the forecast
Yeah,
for Wednesday night
and
on into
Thursday.
Friday, so that'd
Yeah,
be
that's
good.
great. Yeah, we could use a good inch or two.
Early nesters, eagles.
Yeah, if you got an eagle nest on your property, be very careful. Try not to get too close this time of year. The females are sitting, and they should be hatching pretty quick. They get out and they're breeding in the fall. They nest real early in January and February, and the hatch is going to be going on pretty quick. But if you can stay away from those nests, it's the best thing you can do. Just let them be. Even if you're going to take a picture, stay away at least, I would say, 300 to 400 feet. And try not to disturb them if you can, and they'll be fine.
Do they come after you at all?
If you get into the tree or close to the tree, they might. Typically what they do is they just get scared and they'll leave the nest. They'll abandon the nest if there's too much disturbance.
Okay.
And it's funny, there was a nest on Garden Plain Road a number of years ago right next to the road on a big cottonwood tree. And it had been there 3 or 4 years, and then all of a sudden people started showing up taking pictures. And it was within a couple hundred feet of the road, and the next year they moved the nest. They took off.
It's amazing how they build those nests.
Oh, yeah, they look like Volkswagens up in the tree with all the branches and stuff.
It is crazy.
They are kind of cool.
Hey, we got a minute left in the show. Maybe we can revisit this. Ticks is down there at the bottom.
Yeah. As everybody knows, we've started to get a lot of deer ticks in the area, and they carry Lyme disease. But even the dog ticks will carry other diseases, too. Every time I go into my doctor, I'm asking him, why can't we get some kind of vaccination against Lyme disease? And he says, well, if you were a dog, I'd give it to you. But he says, there's nothing for humans right now. And I don't know if anybody's experimented with the canine vaccine. I hope not, because that sounds really dangerous.
Yeah.
But to me, it's just amazing with as many cases of Lyme disease as there are on the East Coast and the Midwest. No one's come up with a workable vaccine yet. And I'd be the first one in line to get it.
I would think so. Hey, thanks so much for coming in. We'll visit with you again on April 9th. Take care.
Thanks.
You're listening to AM 1340 KROS, Clinton, Iowa.
FM 105.9.
And KROSradio.com.
This is Radio Iowa. The largest employer in the central Iowa town of Perry, Tyson Foods, is announcing plans to permanently close its pork processing plant there, eliminating nearly 1,300 jobs. Radio Iowa's Dar Danielson reports.
A statement released from a company spokesperson says after careful consideration, we made the difficult